Hello, my dear listeners. Welcome to the Healing Station. Here at the Healing Station, we receive healing for our various elements. We receive healing for our bodies. We receive healing for our finances. We receive healing for our mental and for our emotional states. We also receive healing for whatever other situation that could be making our lives uncomfortable. Psalm 68 verse 13, though you have lain among the pots, yet shall you be as the wings of a dove covered with the silver and her feathers with yellow gold. We are considering this verse and we understand that it means that there are three levels here. The first level is ourselves lying among the pots. A low level of life, low standards. Then we enter into silver, where now the levels improve, the situation improves. And then we enter the other level of yellow gold, where we experience exponential growth and greatness and wealth. We're talking about moving from one degree to another, from one level to another, stepping into a higher level. In the Gospel of Mark chapter 5, there was a man who was lying among the pots. He had been cutting his own flesh day and night, crying in the tombs. He dwelt in the tombs. He could not wear clothes, and no one could restrain him. He was untamable. He would tear ropes. If you tried to bind him with ropes, he would cut those ropes. He would cut those ropes. He was too strong. This man saw Jesus and from afar and worshipped him and began to run towards him. Jesus rebuked the demons from him, and they went into pigs, 2,000 swine. And the 2,000 swine could not stand the pain. They rushed to the sea and were choked into the sea. They drowned and were choked inside that sea. So you can imagine how grave this situation was. This man had suffered. But one day, it took just immediately, suddenly for him to receive his healing. And when they came back, they found that he was seated, healed, seated, clothed, and in his right mind. Seated, clothed in his right mind. This man had come out of lying among the pots, and he was now entering into silver and into a yellow gold. So today we're going to be talking about the right mind for ourselves. We are saying, first of all, we're grateful to God that we all enjoy mental stability, that we are not mentally ill. But at the same time, we appreciate that we would want to enter another level, that we desire to enter another level of how our minds function concerning our intelligence and concerning how our minds function. We have all seen at one time or another that we have gone through this thing called, I'm calling forgetfulness, where you're saying, I'm looking for my keys, I'm looking for my keys, I'm looking for my keys, and you're searching frantically. And all this time, the keys are in your hands. They are not lost. They are in your hands. You're holding them. We're calling this forgetfulness, and we are saying that here today, we receive healing from this thing, this forgetfulness. We rise to another level where our minds are sharp and alert all the time. Then, poisoning our minds. We are all culprits here, poisoning our minds. We feed our minds with the wrong information. We bombard our minds with the wrong information. Movies, for instance, instead of watching a good movie that is entertaining and that makes you laugh, that teaches you a bit of a vocabulary here and there, why do we watch horror movies that are so frightening and they don't add value? 2 hours of screaming and shouting and being uncomfortable. Why do we bombard our minds, poison our minds with such horrid pictures, horrid images that do not add value at all? When we were young, my parents had 3 volumes of books that were entitled You and Your Health. Volume 2 had diseases in there. we would look through, me and my siblings would look through the diseases and the pictures. There were many, many vivid pictures in there showing how those diseases eat up the human body. And the pictures were bad and terrifying and ugly. But we would just keep looking and looking. But I asked myself, why were we subjecting ourselves to such pain? Why were we subjecting our minds to such a horrid information? Why? Because that information didn't add value. It just put fear in our hearts. It just put fear in our hearts. Why were we wasting time poisoning our own minds? Today at the healing station, we are saying that we are not going to poison our minds again, that we are going to be careful what we feed our minds with, what information we feed our minds with. If it's movies, we're going to be watching good movies. If it is novels, we'll be reading the right novels. And then more so, we'll consider meditating on the Word of God, memorizing the Word of God. We're going to start feeding our minds with the right information. We are still at the silver level, but now we are entering the gold. Or before we enter the gold, there's also this part where the mind itself begins to sabotage us. I was invited for an interview. One day I was looking for a job. I applied for a job and they invited me for an interview. I sat before a panel of 5, 4 gentlemen and 1 lady. And they asked questions. One of the questions they asked me, tell us the names of the president for Tanzania and the names for the first president for Tanzania, the first president for Zambia. These names, I've known them since I was a young girl because besides my parents possessing this book of You and Your Health, we also had a book about Julius Nyerere, we also had a book about Kenneth Kaunda, we also had other books. I think we had books that Kenneth Kaunda had written himself and books that Mwalimu Nyerere had written himself, books authored by these presidents. So I knew these names. I was familiar with the names since I was a little girl. But this time when they asked me this question, imagine my mind just drew a blank and I couldn't remember. I just couldn't remember at all. So immediately I left the interview room. Once the interview was over, the names came back to me. I remembered clearly, vividly, kwamba it was Mwalimu Julius Nyerere and Kenneth Kaunda. Julius Nyerere for Tanzania and Kenneth Kaunda for Zambia. I wanted to rush back and tell the panel, oh my God, just give me 2 minutes to tell you the answer. The answers just come to me. But you know, it's too late already. You can't go back. The mind sabotaged me. How many of us have sat in an exam room? You're doing an exam and you look at this question, and this is a question you're very familiar with because the contents you read just the other day, just last night. But when you try to remember the points escape your mind. They just escape your mind. How many of us have been, you've made a presentation, maybe at a place of work or somewhere like that, and then when they start asking you a few questions after your presentation, you can't remember. They're asking you simple questions, but you can't remember to give them the information, yet it is information that you have at your fingertips. The mind just decides to sabotage you. We are today at the healing station. We are asking God to help us that our minds will not sabotage us again. That when we need to say something, to explain something, we shall find that we're saying something and explaining quickly, easily, and without struggling. And now we enter the golden level. We enter the golden level and we're talking about Bezaleli, Exodus 31. God tells Moses, I've called Bezaleli by name, Bezaleli the son of Hur, to build the tabernacle for me. I've given him wisdom, understanding, to devise cunning works to work in all manner of workmanship. I've also given him able assistant Aholiab and others. I've also given him male and female workers in whose heart I've deposited wisdom. So God has chosen Bezaleli here to build the tabernacle and has given him the expertise that he needs. The expertise, to devise cunning works, in other words, expertise, high-level intelligence to build the tabernacle. And he's not going to work alone. He has Aholiab with his assistant. He also has a team of people or a group of professionals, men and women. We're asking God today to give us wisdom and brains and intelligence of high level like Bezaleli, because God is not a respecter of persons. We're asking him to give us brains like he did with the case of Bezaleli, to make us sharp, super sharp, to give us intelligence high level, to make us professionals of the highest level, so that we do things, when we carry out projects, or we carry out tasks so well, such that people marvel and say, oh, this is good, this is wonderful, this is excellent. And we are also asking God to give us a team that supports us, a team of able-bodied and able-minded men and women to support us as we carry out these tasks. So today at the healing station, we are looking at right mind, and we're asking God to give us a sharp mind, to give us a very high level intelligence, to take away forgetfulness. And we are asking ourselves, why have we been poisoning our minds? And we are promising ourselves that we are not going to continue to poison our minds anymore, that we are going to feed our minds with the right information, and we are going to feed our minds with information that is valuable and that helps us to continue to receive our healing here at the healing station. Thank you so much for listening to me. Kindly subscribe, like, share, comment. Till we meet again at the healing station. Bye bye, and God bless you.